There are days when I wake not because of an alarm clock, but due to a vague feeling as if something inside me has begun to crack. I can't tell if it's sadness, fatigue, emptiness, or simply an unnamed void. I lie still for a long time, staring at the ceiling, as though waiting for an answer to drop from the cracks above. In this world, where people are swept away like specks of dust in a storm of expectations, I start to wonder, where do we truly belong? Not a house, not a person, not a job that others admire, but a space within ourselves, where we can sit with our own soul without performing a role. I once thought healing was a destination, that after a few months of meditation, a few therapy sessions, a few retreats into the forest, I would be fine. But no, healing isn't like patching up a torn shirt and wearing it again. It's more like standing in the rain for a long time, cold, shivering, and exhausted until you realize you don't need to run anymore. You can be wet, you can be tired, you can slump down and cry like a child, because from a young age, we were never taught that sorrow is part of living. We were praised when we excelled, stayed strong, remained silent, or were well behaved. But when we were scared, vulnerable, or in need of help, we learned to hide. I've met many people who look happy. They smile often, speak fluently, post glamorous photos, but in their eyes is something very familiar to me, a small, silent emptiness, like a missing note in a long symphony. I began to see the cracks in this world, not the surface cracks, but those deep within the structure of the soul. We feel lonely in crowds. We doubt even when in love. We feel lost even within our own families. And meditation didn't arrive like a miracle. It came slowly, quietly. At first, I thought it was about sitting still, trying not to think. But I came to realize, meditation isn't about escaping thoughts, it's about watching them pass. Like standing by a river and watching fallen leaves float by, without grabbing, without pushing them away. The first time I meditated amidst the city noise, I was annoyed by honking horns, people talking, the chaos of life. But then I realized, those sounds were part of the moment too. Just like the tangled emotions within me, they were also part of me. One cannot love oneself while rejecting the parts they consider ugly. I once traveled far in search of peace in books, in teachings, in distant mountains. But peace doesn't exist elsewhere. It only lives in the present moment. One morning, I simply sat with a cup of tea in the rain, doing nothing, not trying to make the most of time, not checking emails, not setting goals. And strangely, in that moment, I felt as if I carried nothing. Peace doesn't need to be achieved, it only needs to be recognized. This world is excellent at making us feel inadequate. Not beautiful enough, not smart enough, not fast enough, not stable enough. But who sets that standard of enough? Society operates on comparison, and that very mechanism kills the unique vitality of each individual. Modern social psychology doesn't just exert pressure from outside. It implants within us a voice that constantly whispers, "You're not good enough." I learned to recognize that voice and I stopped believing it. I didn't resist it. I simply smiled. Because I knew that voice wasn't me, it was something programmed long ago. I began healing by stopping to breathe, stopping to touch my heart and ask, "How are you today?" Not what do I have to do next, but how do I feel right now? One time, I sat in the dark, no lights, no music, just silence, and tears fell naturally, for no reason. And I let them fall as something sacred. Because sometimes, we don't need a reason to be sad, just as we don't need a reason to love. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who we truly were before the world told us to be different. Before we learned to hide emotions, to pretend we're okay, to push through. I'm not trying to be a better version of myself. I'm trying to be more honest with myself. I also realized that not everyone is ready to heal. Some don't yet know they're in pain. Some know, but don't feel safe enough to admit it. Healing can't be forced. It comes when the time is right. Like a flower that won't bloom just because we want it to, it needs light, time, patience. And more than anything, it needs a non-judgmental space. Every person is a forest, and no forest is the same. Some need silence. Some need movement. Some need to cry. Some need to write. Some need a hug. Some just need someone to sit quietly beside them. There is no single path to healing, just as no two wounds are identical. I began to understand that presence is the greatest gift we can offer each other. Not advice, not wisdom, not solutions. Just presence, wholehearted, undistracted, non-judgmental. There were times I sat next to a friend, saying nothing, just listening. And I saw that often, people don't need answers, they just need to be understood. Meditation taught me that. Meditation taught me to look into someone's eyes without rushing to judge. To listen to a story without slapping on labels of right, wrong, weak, or strong. In meditation silence, I learned it to be like a mirror reflecting, not distorting. This society makes us forget how fragile we are. We live among machines, performance metrics, and data points. But we are not machines. Hearts don't beat to KPIs. Emotions don't follow deadlines. We need rest. We need quiet. We need time to do nothing. Not to escape, but to return. Because when we stop bracing ourselves, life begins to flow back in. When we stop trying to control, wounds begin to heal. When we accept that we're not okay, peace starts to seep into the cracks. I began writing out my pain, not to complain, but to understand. Each sentence was a mirror, revealing corners I once ignored. Writing became a form of meditation when I was honest enough to hide nothing. Sometimes I'd write and laugh, realizing how naively I'd once thought. Sometimes I'd write and cry, because it was the first time I named my loneliness. Some pain only waits to be named in order to dissolve. I learned to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved freedom. Anger is like fire, it burns the one who holds it more than the one it targets. I don't need to understand why they hurt me. I only need to know I no longer want to carry that pain forever. Meditation doesn't make us forget, but it helps us see pain through new eyes. Instead of the lens of resentment, through the light of compassion. I started speaking to myself like a friend, gently, patiently, without blame. When I'm tired, I no longer say you're weak, but it's okay, you tried. When I'm disappointed, I don't scold you're so stupid, but say you're human, mistakes happen. These little sentences, repeated daily, slowly created a new companion within me, the one I had long lacked. And then I realized, healing has no ending. Because life continues to break us, continues to bring loss and new wounds. But once you know the way back inside, you're never truly lost again. Each pain deepens you. Each fall brings you closer to yourself. Healing doesn't turn you into a superhero, but helps you touch your humanness more deeply than ever. I no longer search for the meaning of life. I live each moment as if it were everything. Meditation taught me that the present moment is all we have. There is no yesterday, no tomorrow, only now. And in that moment, if I can breathe, love, release, then I am living as fully as possible. It is a journey with no destination, only step-by-step presence. Each breath a homecoming, each second a chance to return to ourselves gently, peacefully, completely.